with you in the Midlands, BBC Radio.
Hi there, this is Benny King, and I listen to The Record Collectors.
And our very special guest this evening is that legend from the 80s, Ben E. King of the Drifters.
How are you again?
Very well, Benny, and
Thank
yourself?
You. Great, doing well, yeah.
How long have you been over here?
I've been over here since the 1st of June. I came over to start rehearsing. We did the Princess Trust, which I was extremely proud to do. I was running around on stage with so many great talents that I couldn't believe it myself. I hadn't seen people like Ringo Starr and George Harrison since they were kids, and all of a sudden, and I'm sincere about that. And all of a sudden, I'm standing up there with them, and they're full-grown men with kids, and I'm looking at them, reflecting back to times when I used to see them come to the theater when I was working in Liverpool with Brian Epstein. So even Ringo remembered. He said, last time I saw you, I was a little kid. I said, well, you're an old man now, and get your hands off. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. I was honored to be there. Of course, I got a chance to meet Prince Charles and Lady Di, which was quite a treat. They were very nice people, which was great to know. And that was the beginning of my tour. I started actually touring the 6th, right after the Princess Trust. I've been up and down ever since, yeah.
I'll just ask you this question. This visit really is a success built on Stand By Me, which was a massive #1 hit in the UK, as it was in other countries as well.
Yeah.
And you were touring here previously with the Drifters. The old group, the old lads. Johnny Moore and his Merry Men are still touring.
Exactly.
And they're touring the UK right now.
Yeah, it was true.
Did it come as any surprise to you, this Stand By Me? The success of it?
Yeah.
Again.
It came as a shock to me, really, more than a surprise. I was at home. When it happened in the States, I could understand it because it happened from a movie. And, of course, you have the promotional monies there because they have a certain budget they put aside, to help to make a song, to make a movie, or vice versa. So that I knew was going to happen and going to do something. But it went very well there in the States. And then before leaving here, I did some shows up in Scotland not too long ago, about 8-9 months ago. And someone was telling me, I read an article in the paper where, the Levi Jeans people are going to do Stand By Me. I thought, that sounds good. I figured every little bit helps. So I left the tour, went back to New York, and then I got a call from some friends that live here, and they were telling me, your song is really doing well on the charts. I said, really? So I'm assuming that the movie was over here. I didn't even think that, the Jeans commercial was going to have that much of an impact. But then I remembered that he had told me before, too, that Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson had been very successful with their songs coming from the Levi Jeans commercial. And before I knew it, I had a #1 song. It was just knocked me completely out. I just can't say enough.
Now, your latest release, Ben, is Save the Last Dance for Me, which is obviously a new recording with Mark Knopfler, produced in Britain, I assume.
That's right, yeah.
How
exactly.
did that come about?
I came over to do some recording with John Paul Jones. I don't know what's going on in my life. I wish I could tell you. But for some strange reason, things seem to be falling on top of each other. I actually had signed a contract with Manhattan Records to record before the success of the movie or before the success of the Levi Jeans commercial. And I started recording with John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin to do the album for Manhattan with no reason, just to do an album. And all of a sudden we came up with a hit record. So now an album became a very important thing to do. I'm being managed by Bud Prager, who handles Foreigner. And that's how, and I've done some material from Mick Jones before. So Mick says, I got a few days off and I'll be in London. So why don't I stop by the studio? So I said, great. So he came in and all of a sudden he says, why don't we redo Save the Last Dance? So I said, why not? So all of a sudden he's in the studio laying down tracks. I go back to the hotel. I'm getting a rest, and I come back in. He says, I got Mark Knopfler stopping in. I said, great. So what is this? So all of a sudden I'm in the studio with him and Mark Knopfler. I go out another day, and I come back in, and Tom Bailey's in there playing organ on the thing, So I go out again, and I come back, and he said, oh, yeah, we got Ruby Turner doing some vocals with you. I said, oh, well, anybody else coming in? So that's how it happened. And all of a sudden things and people start stopping by, and in helping me. I couldn't write letters to get these people in. You'd have to go to managers and agents and lawyers to call these people in to help to do a project. They just volunteered their own service and came in.
Of course, if I can ask another question, Ben, it's not the first time you've recorded with people who are well known in the music circle, because you actually recorded a long time back with people like Average White Band, and before that you were with Laverne Baker for a while.
That's right.
Can you tell us about some of the stuff you put out when you were with Laverne Baker? Did you do a record called, I think it was something like A Help Each Other Romance?
Each Other Romance, that's right, exactly, yeah. That was a company idea. What had happened there is that the company realized that I had a bass voice, and they tried to make me do some Brooke Benton. so they figured, okay, well, if we team him up with Laverne, who would compare with somebody like Donna Washington, and Ben have the low baritone bass voice, we can maybe catch a hold of some of this duo thing that's going around between male and female at that time. So we just tried a couple of records. Plus, after leaving the Drifters, for that time in between my leaving the Drifters and my first solo record, I went on the road for maybe a year with Laverne Baker touring around, which was the greatest experience of my life, because I learned how to actually work an adult audience, and I was just a kid at the time, so that was a great experience.
The Laverne Baker Help Each Other Romance is a very popular sound in the clubs in the Manchester area at the moment.
Really?
And it's hard to get hold of because it was never released over here, as far as I know.
Right. I don't think it was.
Have you done any work with other artists besides Laverne Baker and Average White Band?
Yes, Dee Sharp. I did a record with Dee Sharp. I did just recently. I did a project with the Fatback Band.
Yeah.
I did So Delicious, which I co-wrote So Delicious, and I also did a song in there called Evil. So I'm always messing around with somebody's stuff. I don't know. I love getting involved with people's projects. I love people getting involved with mine. We're all friends and things, so we just kind of fall into each other's feeling about music.
I saw the reviews of your shows in London when you came back to the UK. That's a while back now, when the record was actually right at the top of the charts.
Right.
And most of them were very complimentary.
Right.
The only ones which were slightly critical were the ones that the big ballads like Amour and so forth.
Yeah.
That some people felt that you sold out a little bit by doing those sort of like Spanish ballad songs and like things like Spanish Harlem.
Yeah.
I remember seeing one particular article about it.
Right.
But they were very popular with a lot of people. Because your voice, you've got the kind of voice that can carry both soul music and Latin type music. The blend of the two. Was that your own idea, or did that originate from the Drifters, do you think? The combination of Latin music and soul music in a way?
It is a combination of the two. After leaving the Drifters, I think after leaving the Drifters, what had happened with me really was the fact that the company actually started experimenting with me because they didn't want me to take the Drifter sound away. So that's why I have a very record situation with Amour, and they're none of them are the same really. Just have somewhat of a Latin flavor, a few of them. But then I would go from I Who Have Nothing to an Amour to Stand By Me to Don't Play That Song to
that's one of my all-time favorites.
Really?
Yes, because Aretha Franklin did a version of that as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with Aretha Franklin at all?
Yes, at the Apollo Theater. Yeah, many times at the Apollo Theater.
The record you've just cut, where I said Last Dance for Me, some would say, perhaps our listener would say, that the original is the original, and it's a shame to redo something.
Yeah.
The first time I heard the record, and I said this to Chris, we played it on our program the other week. First time I heard it, I thought, the original. I think I prefer the original.
Right.
But then I played it 4 times altogether, and it's grown on me. You know what I mean? I'm sort of but do you feel there's a danger when you actually try to redo something which in many people's ears is an all-time classic?
No, it is a danger in doing that, but I think that the majority of the people that's known me over the years can appreciate the fact that I don't do that as a means of trying to capitalize on anything. I do it. I stay as close to home with what I've done vocally anyway. in the songs. And this is one of the first times I've ever done this, so I figured, okay, one time around or whatever shouldn't be terribly bad. I enjoyed. I couldn't go and duplicate what I'd done before. It wouldn't have been fair to try to do it exactly as I did it before. So with the people that I had producing this, dated, involved with it as far as musicianship, I thought that, well, it'd be quite nice to try something different. And they wanted to more or less do a Benny King type song, so I didn't really want to start doing something funky with them and say, oh yeah, great, let me do something great with these new young talent people, so I didn't want to do that as well.
Well, I think it's a great track. I think what we'll do is give it a spin now, and if we can, we'll come back and talk about the early days and how you actually started off in this business.
Okay.
So here is Save the Last Dance for Me, the new version by Ben E. King.
Well, that was Save the Last Dance for Me. That was the new one, Ben, but you've been around a long, long time. In fact, if I'm right from memory, you didn't start off as Ben E. King. Was it Earl?
Benjamin Earl Nelson.
Benjamin Earl Nelson. Right. Where did the name King come from?
King came from, I have an aunt that was dating a fellow by the name of James King, and my Aunt Agnes is her name. And he was a fantastic person, really nice guy. And I liked him as a person, and I liked the name. So when we were looking for a name for stage, and I had an agent by the name of Frank Sands who was going through all the names. He said, well, we'll call you Earl Nelson. I said, well, I can't use that. There's an Earl Nelson out. So I said, Benjamin. I said, no, leave Benjamin out completely. So we'll call you Benny. I said, Benny what? I said, he said, well, pick a name. And right away King came to. I said, King. He said, great, Benny King. But he was going to start with B-E-N-N-Y. But then he says, no, let's not use it this way. Then all of a sudden he started writing. He said, Ben Earl. Then he said, okay, no, take the Earl away. Just put the E in. And he left the E in and dotted it. And that was my name.
So we get Ben E. King.
Ben E.
Now,
King,
you started, I think it must have been about, I forget the year, but it was with the Crowns, wasn't it?
Right, oh yeah.
Were you recording on your own before the Crowns?
Oh, no.
Just, how did the Crowns get together then?
I was called into the Crowns. I actually wasn't a member of them at the beginning. I was the guy that was managing the Five Crowns had an apartment right across the street from my father's restaurant. So he decided to come in there one day looking for a baritone singer to join the group. And I was in there working, and I had some friends in there. And the way he knew that there was people coming in, he'd look out his window, he'd see young guys coming in, which was friends of mine. So he just made his way in there one morning to find out whether or not any of my friends or myself would like to join the group. So he came back a couple of times, so I got up enough nerve to tell him that I sing a bit, and he brought his group over one night. I rehearsed in the store when it was empty. And that's how I got involved with the Five Crowns.
Who were the other members of the Crowns?
It was Doc Green. Doc Green, that was the Clark brothers, Papa Clark, and I think his brother's name was Rudolph Clark or something like that. So those were four members and myself. Yeah.
And was that the lineup that eventually became the Drifters after the breakup and the coming back together again? It's very complicated.
It's crazy.
The book on the Drifters is quite complicated. The climax part of it.
And it just goes on, and when it gets to my part, it even get crazy.
and then there's people that go in and out trying to find who recorded what, where, and when. And there's arguments about who did what.
I know. It's a nutty book.
Could I ask you this?
Yeah.
Of the major hits the Drifters had, which ones did you do the lead vocal on? Clear this once and for all.
I did Spanish Harlem. Spanish Harlem, not even a drifter back. I'm thinking of my own stuff. I did Save the Last Dance for Me, This Magic Moment, I Count the Tears, Dance with Me, Oh My Love, and what else? That's about it.
Any backup vocals on
I've never done backup vocals on any of those recordings.
Not at all?
No. Because from the time that I started, I forgot There Goes My Baby. There Goes My Baby.
Of course.
I keep forgetting the song. What song is it? There Goes My Baby is another one that I did lead on. But from the time I started recording with them, which was an accident really, I wrote the song called There Goes My Baby while we was on tour, getting ourselves established as the New Drifters. And when we got to the studio, I was trying to show it to Charlie Thomas. Charlie Thomas was a member of the Five Crowns, and also was Ellsbury Hobbs. But these guys came in later. They weren't even in the group when I joined the group. it's a strange story. It goes on and on. If we had a weekend, I could probably tell you the whole thing. But anyhow, I was showing Charlie Thomas the song that I'd written, and he couldn't get it as well as Jerry Wexler wanted him to, so Jerry Wexler came into the control room and told me to do it. And that's how I started leading. So I hadn't...
And that song was?
And that song was There Goes My Baby.
I think we'll play There Goes My Baby right now.
Sounds good.
Moving on from There Goes My Baby, how did you eventually leave the Drifters? Was it your own decision or management or...
Well, I left the Drifters. I didn't actually leave the Drifters as much as I think I got fired from the Drifters.
That's honesty for you.
Yeah, you know, we were on, as I was saying, we was on the road with There Goes My Baby in the charts. And when we signed on to become the new set of Drifters, we signed on to be on Savory. While we had a hit record out, I thought, and along with the other fellas, we all thought that we would do a bit of a better salary than we were getting. So once we got back to the office, they elected me as the spokesman for the group. I will never know why. But I got back to the office and I stood up and I made my speech. I told them that we had gone on the road and we discussed it among ourselves, and we thought that we would, you know, do a little increase in salary based on the fact that we had a hit record out, and the other little bits of money really wasn't carrying us that far for the whole entire week. So George Treadwell, who was the manager at the time, he looked at me and he said, well, look, you just stand up and you speak for yourself. So I stood and I made the same speech. And he said, well, if you're unhappy, you can leave. So I looked at the rest of the guys and they were just still sitting there. And I figured if I get my coat and I leave, they'll all follow. I was wrong.
I know the feeling.
I was wrong. So I grabbed my jacket and I did go outside. And it was a glass door there, and I can remember standing away from the door so nobody would see my shadow through the door there. And I'm standing there and waiting, and nobody else followed. So I guess out of the fact that I didn't want to feel like a complete jerk, I just headed toward the elevator and never turned back. Yeah.
But it wasn't such a bad decision in a way, because it was fairly successful for you.
Oh, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, as a person. Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, I had no intentions of. I didn't leave to pursue a career or anything, because I had not even pursued a career, even getting involved with the Five Crowns. The guy came across the street. I thought that he just wanted me to join a group to have fun on the weekends, and that's all my father would allow me to do. He said, look, during the week, you know you're going to have to help me in the store. I said, great. He said, but on the weekend, you can do your singing. Great. That was a good deal for me. So when I got involved with the Five Crowns, it was basically because I enjoyed music. See, all my life, mostly I've been raised, at that point, I was raised singing gospel. So this was a new music. Doo-wopping on the street and singing in different groups was a new experience for me. So I was looking forward to enjoying myself. So when it all of a sudden turned into a professional thing, going from Five Crowns to Drifters and having contracts and lawyers and managers, I began to realize I'm in big business here, you know, and I knew that I was in trouble there. Yeah.
You mentioned just now your father working in the store. Were any of your parents, or if you got brothers and sisters, in the music business at any time?
Oh no. Other than singing in church, other than gospel, my family had never known of any other music other than gospel. I'm the only one that broke out and just started doing something else. Everybody else in my family sings gospel.
What about rhythm and blues? I mean, were you into some rhythm and blues at all, or was it gospel?
Gospel, yeah. I wasn't actually into any other music because I was born in the South. I was born in Henderson, North Carolina, and that's the only music we actually did. I went to church 7 days a week, and that's all I was singing was gospel.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of cutting, later in life, a total gospel album? It's so popular now.
I know it is.
It's a wider field.
Sure, I wanted to do it quite a few times, but I never wanted to do it for a commercial reason. If you understand what I'm saying, I never wanted to make it appear like, okay, I'm gonna do it now because it's fashionable and I want to cash in on it.
Right.
And I don't want to. If it ever fades down, and I know it won't now, I would do it. Because I always say, I don't want anybody to think that now he's doing it because Al Green has done it and Little Richard's gone back and he's made it very well into gospel, and Andre Crouch is big in gospel. And gospel is just a big business now. But eventually one day, I'd like to join others if I can. I'm always teaming up with somebody. I would like to join somebody like James Cleveland or somebody like that and do a couple of songs. Yeah, I'd love that very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm particularly fond of gospel music.
Oh,
I've got quite a few gospel albums myself.
Yeah.
So it would be maybe just nice to have a couple of gospel tracks on an album.
On an album, yeah.
Yeah, to be favourites that you sang when you were going to church every day.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
I was going to ask, who were the gospel groups around at the time when you were very much kind of, say, 7 days a week to church and that? You must have had various...
Dixie Hummingbirds, Silvertones, the Blind Boys of Alabama, Blind Boys of Mississippi, Soul Stirrers, of course, where my favorite singer came out, which was Sam Cooke. Who else?
People like the Brooklyn All-Stars.
Brooklyn All-Stars. I can go on and on. Many, many groups. You know, the Clara Ward singers and all those.
Yeah.
Fabulous singers.
She was a great singer. She's died quite a while back, but very popular over here, not just for the gospel, but she did a lot of faster, up-tempo stuff, which is very collectible in England.
Shorty Caesar's another one that I love very much.
Your music is so widely based. What kind of stuff do you listen to when you get home? I mean, not just perhaps years ago, but perhaps today. You actually sit back at home with your compact disc player on, your stereo player on, or your Walkman. What do you listen to? What kind of music?
I honestly, to be totally honest with you, I'm really sincere when I say I listen to all music. I don't say this to be protective of not offending anyone. I honestly, when I'm driving, I listen to piano concertos. I love those. I really do. I listen to nice, calm music. And when I thought when I was a kid that I was going to be somewhat of a jazz singer, my first two teachers were Nat King Cole and Billy Eckstine, as far as people to go to the Apollo and watch and learn things from. When I first thought that I loved music, and I used to stand in front of the mirror as a teenager and with the broomstick and imitate singing someone, I sung those songs. So in doing so, I met most of the jazz musicians that you know today, from John Coltrane to Miles Davis to Cannonball and Nat Adderley. All the jazz musicians, I know practically all of them from Sarah Vaughan on down, because I first thought I wanted to be a jazz singer. So I just threw myself in the way of all of these people. And so now when I go listen to music, my wife and I, we would go to the Village in New York and just drown ourselves in jazz music. And then I have a love for the music that I'm involved with. Of course, like I said, I did stuff with the Fatback Band recently, because I love good music. I don't care who's doing it. Yeah.
Other than Stand By Me, what's your favorite track that you've ever recorded?
A song that very few people know about is called On the Horizon.
Do we have a copy?
Yes, that's the B-side.
B-side of a song.
Stand By Me. It's the B-side of Stand By Me.
On the original,
It's got some nice violin middle break to that.
Yeah.
I think we'll play that, Benny.
Yeah.
Do come back soon to our shores.
Thank you. I promise.
And really, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Every successful new single and the new album.
Thank you.
We'll be giving plenty of plays on our program.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you.